Georgetown's going to have to limit their turnovers because they do not want to allow easy buckets.
Ransom in trouble late in the shot clock. Good move to get by Fudd and get Georgetown on the board.
That's one thing Kelsey Ransom is so good with. She is quick off the bounce, and she goes downhill better than anybody. She's got to continue to attack.
UConn certainly going to push the pace, but Kristen Williams stepped out of bounds late in the shot clock. Good patience from the sophomore.
And how about the ball handling? I mean, terrific job staying low and just the change of speed all the way to the rim. A beautiful move to save the day there with the shot clock winding down.
Brianna Scott trying to find it to Ransom, feeding Scott to the bucket. Got the bump, did not get the foul call, and here comes UConn on the run. Had a 37-0 run on Friday night against Xavier that spanned the end of the second quarter through the third.
You can't allow that kind of a run for Connecticut. Any given night, you go in that kind of a drought, you have no shot.
That was fantastic ball movement, but Kristen Williams traveled before getting the shot off. That is 3 consecutive turnovers for the Huskies.
Uncharacteristic for the UConn Huskies. Typically a team that does not turn the ball over.
All right, Danny, thank you very much. Here in Hartford, Georgetown has gotten a couple of early buckets from Kelsey Ransom, and UConn has turned it over 3 times early. And Georgetown with a 1-point lead over the 10th-ranked team in the country. Along with Julianne Vianney and Sherry Burris, Jason Horowitz, happy to have you with us. AZ Fudd ends a 3-minute drought, and the Huskies back on top, coming into this game off of a 54-point win against Xavier the other night on Friday.
A really good start here from Georgetown. Certainly in attack mode early.
Lee Edwards controls the offensive boards. There's been great ball movement. Nika Mule rolls out a 3, and it's tapped out by Dorka Juhas, transfer from Ohio State, who was all Big Ten 2 years in Columbus for Gina Auriemma, who told us when we talked to him yesterday that this team is starting to come together. He's getting players back. Paige Becker's practiced this week, still not in the lineup.
Yeah, that's nice to have, though. She's creeping back into shape, but finally a healthy roster other than her, and that's huge going into March.
Ariel Jenkins, freshman, making her 2nd career start. West steps back. She's not a big-time scorer, just 3 points a game, and left that way short. Pushed it into the corner for Williams. Rolls in a triple.
And that's where the transition game for UConn is always so lethal. Just a terrific job pushing the tempo and finding their shooter. And UConn's got to continue to spread the floor out. They haven't been as good from 3 this season, but on Friday night, they shot the lights out.
Kelsey Ransom on the drive. That's a tough shot. You're going to have to move the ball a little bit better than that, and West called for the foul. Now, this is certainly the biggest story for the 10th-ranked team in the country as they try to move forward and heading towards the Big East tournament and the NCAA tournament. This before the game.
Looks pretty good.
You know, she's out here dancing around, the left knee, the surgery. Certainly had the big brace on it earlier, but she looks like she's moving just fine.
Yeah, she is moving pretty well. And what's hard is that Coach Auriemma told us before the game, listen, we play every other day. It's hard to get practice time in for her to really get that rhythm and really get out there and practice. So she's trying to get out on the floor whenever she can. We saw her warming up today.
Well, this is the 2nd game of a 5-game stretch in 10 days for UConn. And a foul whistled behind the play. For those of you watching on CBSSports.com, our streaming coverage will conclude after the commercial. But we'll continue on CBS Sports Network. You can find us by going to CBSSportsNetwork.com/channel finder. So welcome you inside the Excel Center. Jason Horowitz, Julianne Vianney, get Sherry Burris coming up here in just a little bit. 8-4 here in the early going. It's a UConn team that looked every bit the UConn team that you expect, and that has not been the case all season long, but it certainly was that on Friday night.
Oh, it sure was, and they were finally healthy, and that's a huge thing because you saw Coach Auriemma was able to turn to his depth, turn to his bench, and he got a lot out of course, Azzi Fudd, which was a player that we've all been looking forward to watching. She's a freshman. She's just been phenomenal in terms of her scoring. She knows exactly what to do when she doesn't have the basketball. Terrific movement without the ball. She makes others better. She's just a smooth and precise player in her game, and look at how she's always got her eyes up, court vision. This is just a rookie, folks, and we're only seeing the beginning.
That our AT&T 5G fast analysis, and she missed a bunch of games earlier this year as well. His comeback has been huge. Kristen Williams throws it off the glass. No. Mule comes down with an offensive rebound and will reset. Olivia Nelson-Adoda is into the ballgame for the first time. She returned against Xavier after missing 3 games with a groin injury. And a wonderful save by Mule going into the crowd. 1 on the shot clock as it didn't reset, and UConn doesn't know it. And a shot clock violation. That is the 5th turnover here in the opening 5.5 minutes of this quarter.
You got to give Georgetown a lot of credit to that. I mean, they've been going back and forth in a zone and man, and that's a great defensive play there.
Mule picked West's pocket. Well, to your point about Georgetown's defense, they force the 3rd most turnovers in the Big East. They force opponents into 15, but they give it away 18 times a game, and back-to-back turnovers makes it 6 now for the Hoyas.
Well, turnovers, of course, for both sides here, and Mule does a nice job just picking a little pocket, leads to some transition. That is a terrific job defensively. But back to your point on Georgetown's defense, that will be huge. They've got to stay with their assignments this entire day.
And an offensive foul. It's on Nelson-Adoda, trying to back down the defender. Well, and for Julianne, I mean, this is a very, in terms of this type of environment for Georgetown, none of these players have ever, remember, UConn rejoined the Big East last year. Georgetown, because of COVID, never came up to this building. So this is their first time experiencing an environment like this.
And they have no idea what to expect coming in. None of them have played in front of the 10,000 plus fans that are here. And until you play against the University of Connecticut, you don't know what it really feels like to play a team like them for an entire game. But they're up for it.
And they're on a 9-0 run. The UConn Huskies, and the foul called on Mule. And so that is her first and the 3rd on UConn.
I like Mule's defensive energy here. And you saw that UConn picked up the full court pressure a bit. That's something that Coach Auriemma told us he hasn't been able to do as much of this season because of the injuries that they have experienced. He hasn't been able to play quite the up-tempo that he likes typically and the full court pressure that he does. So now that he's getting players back, expect to see a little more of it.
Asman Ott, Grace Ann Bennett into the lineup off the bench. Another clean pick. This time it's Westbrook into the front court, and that run is now 11-0, and a chance to make it an even dozen at the free throw line.
Westbrook has been terrific the last 5 games, averaging about 10 a game, and she's doing it in a variety of ways. You look at the defensive effort here. You've got to watch your handle in front of her. She poaches, she stays in front, and these are those deadly layups and opportunities that UConn capitalizes off of when you have a live ball turnover.
Westbrook at the free throw line, came off a good overall game, 5 rebounds and 5 assists to go with 7 points. Cincinnati and Xavier the other night. Now Georgetown got off to a good start, hit a couple of baskets, had an early 4-3 lead, but since then have not scored in the last 4 minutes.
That's a drought you can't really allow when you play them.
Mary Clockerty off the bench, steps back and rolls in a big shot. A transfer from Herndon, Virginia, played a lot of games at Lehigh, and she's not afraid to pull, and that's a big 3.
She's got to continue to pull if she gets it. One of their high IQ players who can stretch the defense.
Azzi Fudd kicks it out and travel. Well, UConn certainly doesn't play clean basketball. They do turn it over 14 times a game, but 7 in the opening quarter.
Coach Auriemma can't be happy about that. And just trying to play a little too fast, but Georgetown is forcing them to play a little bit faster than they like, and they're turning it over. And it's really in unnecessary situations.
Bennett had it stripped. Now they keep going into problem situations on the offensive end. Ducharme onto the floor as well for UConn. Came back against Xavier, missed 4 games with a head injury. Bud, no. Battle for the boards, and it's Georgetown basketball. If you're Georgetown, do you like quick shots like that?
No, I really don't. I mean, I don't think they should get into a track meet, but if you got it in transition, you've got to take it, because you might be the most open in a transition situation than you are in the half court.
Bud open again, rolls in another. She had missed her first 3 from beyond the arc, but has 7. And that's exactly what you were talking about in our fast analysis.
Yeah, a terrific job just off the ball, and they're going to find her.
Ransom with a nice pull-up over 2 defenders.
And Ransom has played with a lot of competitiveness here to start. She's got most of the points right now.
And she's got 6 of the 9. 3 of their 4 buckets here in the open quarter, inside of a minute. Edwards off of her leg and out of bounds. We go back to Fudd.
And Fudd is just a terrific player. I mean, this is just a simple screen and just flaring out, reading the screen well. And she just catches and fires, doesn't need a lot of time. And Coach Auriemma told us that he just loves how smooth she plays.
Her parents, Tim on the left, played at American. Katie Fudd there on the right. A great player at Georgetown, a little bit more than 20 years ago. A 2,000-point career scorer between NC State and her time at Georgetown. But AZ at UConn having a great freshman season.
And Gino told us she was always a pill to prepare for, or to prepare against, I should say.
Taking the shot clock, a tough pass for Shania Wright to handle. And that is 9 turnovers for Georgetown. Shot clock is turned off. Huskies don't care. Ducharme with the bucket. And now Georgetown can take the final shot of the opening quarter. Another turnover. Last thing you want to do is foul. It will not count. And it is short. And send us to the end of the first. At the end of 10, UConn up 20-9 on the Georgetown Hoyas. And you're watching March to March, presented by Principal Financial Group. UConn up 11 as we start the second quarter. Well, Maya Moore, 2 titles here at UConn, 4 in the WNBA. Certainly a basketball legacy, but there's a greater emphasis on her. And for more on that, here's Sherry Burris.
Well, in 2019, at the height of her career, Moore shocked the basketball world, stepping away from the game to pursue what she called her purpose. In 2016, she launched Win with Justice, a project combating mass incarceration and its disproportionate effect on the Black community. Well, that purpose included freeing Jonathan Irons, who was wrongfully convicted of burglary and assault at 18. With Moore's help, Iron was exonerated and released after 22 years in prison. And during that time, Moore and Irons growing close. And 2 weeks after his release, they celebrated their marriage. And for now, Moore remaining focused on social justice rather than returning to the court, Jason.
Jerry, she's only 32 years old, so certainly could return to the court. But Julianne Viana, you've talked to Maya Moore before, and she's very steadfast in her efforts and what she's doing.
She really is, and she's somebody that has just blazed trails. She puts her money where her mouth is, so to speak, and you've got to respect that. She doesn't just talk about it. She goes out there and she does it. I know her faith in God is important to her as well, and it leads everything she does. I mean, I have so much respect for her. And she is young enough to come back and play.
Oh,
there's
no question. And look, this is the 20-year anniversary of the 2002 team. Sue Bird was on that, and she just finished. And we're not sure at that.
Yeah, it's crazy, right, when you think about it. We're not sure it's right. I think she's got at least another year here.
Yeah. Well, and the way that she plays, who's to say one? What year did you finish at Maris?
2010.
All right, so you're
Now
more
raging.
Mule's had a hot hand here in the opening half.
Yes,
She's got 8.
I remember when LeBron went in the league, all that. Now he wants to play with his son. I mean, listen, people are playing a long time now.
If I was one of the greatest ever, I'd also, if I could play that long, I would want to play with mine as well as another travel. After first quarter, we are on pace for 72 turnovers in this game. Julianne assures us that will slow down.
I do think it will. I mean, it's ugly right now, and I was talking to assistant coach Sugar Rogers before the game, who she's a former Georgetown great herself, and she was telling me that she just feels like if this is a sloppy game, it will only help them. They want it to be ugly. So this is actually a good thing for Georgetown.
They got to control the ball, though. They have 11 turnovers. They need more of that. Open looks for 3. Bolden Morris was hit, no foul. Bennett to the floor, and it's UConn basketball. It's an open look at 3 again. Knocked out of bounds. The height advantage is certainly there. The athletic ability. I mean, UConn is so long and tall. It is. You've got to get a body down in the paint to try and get those boards.
You really do, and you've got to be physical, and that's something that Coach Howard kept stressing to us before the game. I want them to compete. That's all I'm looking for. Be physical, bang around inside, and don't play scared. And that's what you've seen so far from them.
It's Westbrook, spot up, no. And you talked about it earlier, this is not the best three-point shooting team. Now remember, they're not playing with Paige Beckers, who's the best shooter on the team. Great drive and a trip for 2 to the line for Kelsey Ransom.
That's partially why Georgetown is sitting in this zone. They're going to force UConn to have to make shots, and Ransom has really been downhill since the tip. She has been in attack mode and been quite a bright spot offensively. 2
fouls on Olivia Nelson Adota, so she will go to the bench. Ransom hits the first. Well, CBS Sports Network hits the dirt for an action-packed Cowboy competition. We'll travel to St. Louis. It's the Ticket Smarter Invitational. Catch PBR Unleash the Beast tonight at 8 Eastern on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Every time we read those, I know it's totally different, but I would like to take part in the City Slickers type thing. I realize it's completely different than PBR. I'm just saying.
It would be interesting.
Maisie Fudd being guarded by her former AAU teammate, Brianna Scott. She had a nice smile when Scott came back into the game and marked her former teammate.
Knows her nuances, right? That doesn't hurt.
Well, certainly has a couple of inches on her on the defensive end, too. Good kick out to Mule, 6 on the shot clock. Extra pass to Williams in the corner. And that's the person that Gino Auriemma told us yesterday, if we're going to make it to a 14 straight Final Four, we need her to be more consistent, because that has certainly not been the case. Her numbers are still there. She's still 15 a game, but she's not shooting the way she did last year when she was first team All-Big East.
Right, and that's exactly, and he's not sure why. He wants to see those numbers go up even more, and they need her to be great for them to go all the way to the Final Four. And that's just the bottom line.
Westbrook cut off the passer into Bolden Morris. That's a 3. Milan Bolden Morris, the only player on this Georgetown team who has hit more than 15 triples all year, and a lot more. That's her 66th of the season. Williams on the drive with the answer.
She must have heard us talking about her, but great job in response.
No, this is an important stretch here for Georgetown. Roll knocked it out of bounds. Again, this was starting to get away from them. They've hit a couple of shots. You kind of feel like you need to go into halftime, at least feeling like you're competing with UConn.
Exactly, and they've got to limit their turnovers. I think too many, like we keep talking about so far. They're getting some stops, and that's important.
Scott with the spin move into a double team, had it ripped away, and she was hit in the face. And Mule is checked to the floor.
That ended up being a good foul. They gave a 3, or it would have been a 3-point play over there. And this was the previous play. And That's really good defense. I mean, it really is. If you are there, Aaliyah Edwards, there on the double team. I mean, as soon as she turned, she was there just waiting.
Jillian Archer into the game for Georgetown. They're getting rebounder. That's a long look. And again, UConn so far in this game, just 4 of 13 from 3. They are getting good looks.
They're getting good looks, and that's Georgetown's game plan. Let's see if they can knock some down from three-point land. And so far, they have missed quite a few.
Good bounce passing. Foul is called on UConn. As on Aaliyah Edwards, that is her first. Well, the pressure, though, on the ball for Gino Auriemma's squad. Again, you're used to that when you watch UConn. But for this Georgetown team, seeing UConn for the first time this year, a game that was supposed to take place in D.C. was canceled due to COVID. It's a lot to see it for the first time.
The length, the strength, the fans. I mean, everything's against you when you come here into the Excel Center. It takes some poise to play against Connecticut and not care. Hey, listen, they put their sneakers on the same way, and that's exactly what Coach Howard said he told his players.
Extra pass. Good defense coming on the backside from Ransom. Edwards goes to work, and she got hit on the arm.
Yeah, the problem is Ransom gives up a lot of inches on Edwards. Edwards could do this every time down the floor with her size, her athletic ability. On Friday night, I watched her in awe just make some incredible moves to the basket. Her thing is just doing it more consistently, and that's what Coach Auriemma was telling us. That's been the main thing this season, is trying to get that out of her every single night.
Well, to your point about that inconsistency, to this game, 6 consecutive games where she's had 4 or less, followed by double figures the very next game.
Yeah, it's like it's hot and cold at times, and that will come with her maturity as a player, but you know what she's capable of, and that can be frustrating as a coach if you don't get the 25 points every single night. But she's fun to watch. I don't think there's a post player better than her when she is playing her A game.
Offensive board for Archer. Bolden Morris with the quick trigger. Her second 3 of the half.
Georgetown's playing with a lot of confidence here. And they're getting shots and they're making them, and that's exactly what Coach Howard preached yesterday.
And this happened on Friday night too. They fell behind by double figures in the opening quarter against Marquette at home. And they came back and they fought them all the way down, only losing by 7 to a Marquette team that's trying to make the NCAA tournament. Yeah,
they're on the cusp as well. One of the top 4 teams in the league here.
Down to Edwards. Got it over the outstretched arms of Jenkins, and the lead is back to 11.
That's good patience there. That's just a pure telegraphed pass.
That's Ducharme into the front court. And a foul going the other direction. It is on the Huskies. Will send us to a break. UConn's got to stop turning the basketball over too. 38 to go, second quarter. UConn leading Georgetown by 11. It's time now for our player profile, brought to you by State Farm. It is Kelsey Ransom. And for more on the sophomore, here's Sherry Burris.
Well, yeah, Jason, you see here a player profile of Kelsey Ransom, and not only is she producing on the floor, but off. She's a vocal supporter of all the women's sports at Georgetown. Ransom started a social media push to encourage students to come out to women's basketball games, and she served as a team spokeswoman with the media on a larger scale to get more visibility for women's sports on campus there on the Hilltop.
She is part of this youth that Georgetown's very excited about for the future. She is just a sophomore, certainly a vocal leader on this team, and one of the biggest shot makers on this team. Really, there's 2 aggressive offensive players, and she's one of them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she's done it like just day in and day out. She's been terrific, and it's good to see her as a leader on and off the court to try to get that awareness, try to get people out to games, and to support women's sports.
Jenkins is attacking the offensive glass. The freshman has 3 offensive rebounds here in the first half. You'd like maybe to pull that back a little bit so they get a better look. That's a great kick out. And UConn drills the 3. A foot was on the line, just a 2.
Yeah, but close enough. That's where you're shaking your head and you're just like, move your foot back just a little bit. But good penetration and pitch. And UHaas has a couple years of eligibility. That's a walk she got away with.
That's a great pass. The out of timeout motion right now for UConn is going to give Georgetown some problems. And we talked about the key moments of this game. This is it. These are the 3.5 minutes they're going to need. And that is another turnover. That is 14 turnovers by Georgetown. No look to UHaas cutting into the paint.
And that's the 9th point off of those turnovers right there. And that's a problem. A live ball turnover, UConn will kill you.
17-point lead in a spurt.
16 speakers, 272 horsepower.
Meet Brett from Apartment 2B. He's not letting an overdraft alert get him stressed. He knows he's covered with 0 overdraft fees when he overdraws his account by $50 or less. Overdraft Assist from Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Katie Lou Samuelson enjoying the show with UConn up 17. Coming up on AT&T at the half, AJ Ross, Christy Winter-Scott standing by in our New York studios. Get you caught up on all the day's news and highlights. Been in the action between Tennessee and South Carolina, Maryland and Michigan coming up. It's all coming up on AT&T at the half. Well, Christy Winter-Scott certainly an interest in this game. That is her daughter, Bree Scott, in the Georgetown uniform. She coached her at South Lakes High School to a championship last season. Christy in our studios. She coached at Georgetown for a couple of years when Bree was a wee little tyke.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's always cool when a parent can coach their kid. My dad coached me throughout my whole career too, and there was just such a special bond there throughout high school, throughout elementary school. But to see your daughter and to be a mom-daughter, I think that's even more neat.
Christy, a Maryland Hall of Famer, a great player for the Terps. She's with AJ Ross in our studios, and AJ started her career playing at Howard as well. So we got the basketball minds back in our studios coming up at halftime. Here, we got a 17-point game. UHaas blocking foul called. And Ransom's looking around like, wow, me?
As she tried to get position. And you see a nice job here, just a little bit late on the rotation. And UHaas, they beat her to it.
So she's got 2. Extra pass again. Ducharme for 3. Fudd follows the miss. And an opportunity for 3.
It's just, if you are a young player and you're watching this, that is just a textbook, fundamentally sound thing you do. You follow your shot, right? AZ Fudd follows the missed shot. It's a long shot, so that means it's a long rebound. Fudd is there, and that's just a terrific effort play.
Already 11 points here in the opening half. What is an 11-0 UConn run? It was a 26-17 game. Her mom, Katie Fudd, in attendance. We were wondering if she would wear a half Georgetown, half UConn sweatshirt. Katie was a phenomenal player at Georgetown at the end of the late 90s. But another turnover, and it leads to another easy bucket. And at this point, James Howard's got to figure out how to get his team to hang on to the basketball. Already 16 first-half turnovers.
That's the big problem. They're turning it over a ton. They're not playing with that poise here. UConn has ratcheted up their intensity on this end of the floor.
Well, and it's leading to defensive lapses, too, because they're not even getting back anymore, and it's easy lay-ins. And it's starting to look like what it did on Friday night. UConn finished the first half against Xavier on a 19-0 run. That would go to a 37-0 run. Right now, it's a 15-0 run as we step aside. Well, they certainly picked up the intensity. An 11-point first quarter lead, now at 24, and a lot on AZ Fudd. And her mom, Katie Fudd, transferred from NC State to Georgetown, finished her career with over 2,000 career points in all Big East guard. Just a sensational player in her right, but also a coach too. She coached AZ Fudd and Brianna Scott in AAU ball down there in Virginia.
Pretty cool. Coach Auriemma said that she was just so impossible to game plan against. Her mindset was kick your butt and score every time you touch the ball, and she was not easy to game plan against. And whatever AZ is, her mom, he said it was the opposite, and that's what's interesting. AZ's a little more silky. Her mom liked to get more messy, more physical, and it's just fun to have that comparison and to learn from your mom. And they have the same exact jump shot, everybody says.
Final 90 seconds here of this opening half. Georgetown has had 6 turnovers in the last 3.5 minutes and has not scored in more than 4 minutes. Grace-Ann Bennett. And they're running into traffic and throwing the ball across the paint. There's 3 players there, and they're not getting back. And what a fast break, executed to perfection. Mule with a dime to Williams.
This is where it gets contagious. You just keep turning it over. The fans are into it, and you really lose your composure, and that's what's happening here to Georgetown.
Foul underneath the basket. I mean, the defense is leading the runs, and this is just getting to be fun if you're watching execution.
Because they can run, they can finish in transition. I mean, this is how UConn wants to play. You play right into their hands if you don't have an ability to take care of the basketball, Jason.
Now, Mule was called for her second foul. Already a career high in steals for Mule. Well, the other parts of this, too, is UConn turned it over 8 times in the first quarter. Huskies have only turned it over once in the second. That snaps a scoring drought of more than 4.5 minutes. Stopped a 17-0 run. Westbrook with another opportunity for a 3-point play.
Has so many weapons here from Connecticut. And again, nice just hesitation to the rim. The rotation just too late. And Westbrook finishes with the contact. See the hezzy. I love the change of speed. She's just got that ability to burst through the traffic.
And the foul was on Kelsey Ransom, so that is her 3rd.
The transfer out of Tennessee, sat out the 2019-20 season. There was a lot of talk about her, and she's playing very well.
No. She was Tennessee's leading scorer in her sophomore season at 15 a game. About a 4-second differential. Shot clock and game clock. Double team, found an open shooter. Bennett can't put it down. And UConn can hold for the final shot. And an offensive foul.
That looked like the arm bar from Williams. And Gino not happy about that one. Like a push off, I think he called.
So now it's Georgetown with the last shot. Clockerty was deflected. And that's how the half will end on a UConn 19-2 run and a 26-point lead at the half. Well, Becker's not back yet, but the Huskies look like they are. End of the first half. After the break, it's AJ Ross, Christy Winter-Scott, New York. You're watching March to March, presented by Principal Financial Group. UConn used a 19-2 late second quarter run to blow this open up by 26. Jason Horwitz, Julianne Vianney, Sherry Burris, happy to have you back with us here in Hartford. 45-19 and 19 turnovers in the first half for Georgetown is really what's the difference here.
That's the name of the game here. If you turn the ball over, especially the live ball turnovers against a team like UConn, you are going to pay for it. I mean, that is way too many turnovers. 18 points off of those 19 turnovers for Connecticut. Boy, did they capitalize. 16 steals, pretty incredible.
As we take a look at our AT&T 5G fast analysis from the first half, play that you really liked there for the UConn offense.
Well, this is when things kind of broke open and UConn was able to run the floor and do a good job job here as you see Dorka Juhas has it at the top of the key and over to the wing. You're going to see AZ Fudd being overplayed, and she goes back door, and Nika Mule, number 10 there, knows to get out of the way, so she rotates, relocates behind the three, out of the way, and they're able to isolate AZ Fudd to the basket. But this is just terrific basketball right here. It's fundamentally sound. They go in and they're pointed with what they do. And Fudd, boy, she's so good off the basketball.
Led the way with 12 points in the opening half. But you highlighted Nika Mule. 5 steals in that first half, tying a career high. 8 points, 3 assists, a couple of no-looks as well. It was really an impressive first half for her. Let's go over to Sherry Burris.
Well, Gino Auriemma telling me he liked the way his team came out, and what led to so many turnovers was that small lineup, and he likes the way his team was able to apply that pressure. Then asking James Howard, as you guys mentioned, all those turnovers, he said we need to eliminate those. That 18 points is just too much, and you can't get those back. They need to withstand UConn's pressure and finish defensively.
Good stop, Sherry, and that's the truth. I mean, you play the small ball lineup, and we hadn't even really talked a lot about that, but that's the ability that he has now that he's got everybody healthy to go small. And really, everybody he's got on the floor is versatile.
Morris, tough kick out. Jenkins, late in the shot clock. They did get a good look on the opening possession here in the second half. Ransom got a deflection, slowed it down to Mule. Kicks it into the corner. Fudd was left alone for 3. Ransom playing with 3 fouls, was Georgetown's leading scorer in the opening half. She had 8. Deep 3 early in the shot clock, and it's out of bounds. We'll be back to UConn.
Important first couple of minutes here for James Howard's squad. As Sherry mentioned, they've got to clean it up here. They've got to find ways to put points on the board.
Georgetown's not a high-scoring team. 10th in the Big East at 61 a game. And they've been trying to manufacture points all season long. Been going to freshmen and sophomores late as the year goes on. Fudd, no. Almost a steal. Williams gets into the paint on a tough runner. Kristen Williams will go to the free throw line. Is on Ariel Jenkins.
And Kristen Williams here from the top of the key has that ability to get into the lane, and we mentioned it earlier. She is that player that Coach Auriemma wants to get heated, wants her to get offensive minded here as we round the corner towards March.
Well, and we're talking about Coach Auriemma. Kristen Williams was the Gatorade National Player out of the Year in high school in 2018. She was all Big East last year. And 16 points a game, which is not drastically different from this year. She averages 15 a game this season. The difference, she shot 48% last year. Right, much more consistent as we're talking about.
Exactly, the consistency is key, and as an upperclassman, you expect that out of your senior, and they need that.
That was a great feed. Ransom got around and found Jenkins, who was fouled, and an opportunity for 3.
Nice job here, a good job by Ransom. She just kept the ball in her left hand. That saved a lot of time that time with her pass. Just a terrific job finding her post player in the paint.
Well, you played guard. I mean, it seemed like when the double teams came like that in the opening half, they got a little bit conservative. They weren't sure, they weren't as aggressive with the ball. That time, very different.
Yeah, that was very good. Good poise, good patience. You did it without turning it over. That's important.
Mule got hit in the face. A foul was called away from the ball on Bree Scott. That was not on the fact that Mule got hit in the face. It's a first on Scott. Williams got low in the paint. Ransom got her with the body, and that is the 4th on Kelsey Ransom.
Another good play call here, and that's one thing Coach Auriemma told us as well, is that he's had to call a lot more plays for this squad, Jason, this year, because he wants certain players to get the basketball. Great cut here from Kristen Williams off of that high-low situation. But those play calls have been important. In years past, he hasn't had to do that because everything just kind of flows a little bit better. And he's got a lot of youth on this squad. He's got people he's trying to get shots, and so he's had to call some more plays.
And the obvious to that conversation is that they're missing their best playmaker, their best passer,
Right.
their best shooter. Paige Beckers has been out since early December. So that is the obvious to that conversation. But they have played a couple of months without her.
Right.
But to your point earlier, they've missed other players along the way. They just got Olivia Nelson-Adota back. They just got Caroline Ducharme back. Both played against Xavier for the first time after missing a couple of weeks.
Yep, they've had the most injuries that I can remember in many, many years.
And with more on Paige Beckers, let's go over to Sherry.
Well, yeah, guys, I mean, the question UConn fans want answered is when are we going to see her in a game? Gino Auriemma telling us with his experience, with this kind of injury, a player can be out for a long time. And he said he doesn't know if she'll be back for the conference tournament. A better chance for the women's NCAA tournament, but, guys, Paige is still doubtful as we look to the end of the season.
Yeah. And surgery on December 13th to repair a tibial fracture and a meniscus tear in her left knee. And to the point we talked about with Coach Auriemma about this as well, is the consistency and disrupting the players who have gone 2 months. Because whenever she does come back, we asked the question about, is there any concern about getting her in rhythm with the team or disrupting a rhythm? And he said she doesn't demand the ball, and that's what makes it different.
Right, she is a very different type of player. She's not a ball-dominant player. She is the best shooter, passer, defender, and rebounding guard that they have, who impacts the game in so many different ways. She doesn't have to just be out on the floor and score. So she's not a high-volume shooter. She can be out there and still impact the game in other ways. So that's the one reason why, one of many, that he's not worried about the chemistry. And listen, they get her back in another month, and no other teams in the country are now suddenly bringing on the best player, the returning National Player of the Year, back on their squad. So that's pretty huge if they could get her back.
And that's the biggest part. There are a lot of teams in the top 20 around the country who are missing key components to their rosters. Michigan, Indiana, Maryland, Tennessee. There's a lot of players around the country who are trying to come back. But to your point, that's the National Player of the Year.
Yeah, and that's how he sees it. That's how Coach Auriemma sees it and how he should see it. They could be a team that drastically changes come March and could be drastically dangerous.
Uhas is fouled. Jenkins called for her third. Well, and the other part to that, too, is if she does play in the Big East tournament or even before that, how will the committee maybe think about seeding UConn differently because of 2 months and the losses they had when she did not play?
Oh, it's going to be interesting to see. I would not want to be on that committee. And you don't want to be that team that has to face them when they're finally healthy, if they're, let's say, a 4 seed or something. It's very murky ground, and you know the committee will have to put some of that into consideration. She changes their entire team dynamic.
Uhas now with 8 here in this ball game to go along with 5 rebounds, and we'll get a break. Ducharme back on the floor. It's an 8-0 run again for UConn. So Ransom with 4 on the bench. Jenkins, who got her second career start, 6'3" freshman from Piscataway, New Jersey, is over on the bench with those 3 fouls as well. Kicks it back out to Scott. She certainly can hit, and it's a good stroke. At 6'4", she's got a good-looking 3. It's her 9th make of the year.
Yeah, she really does have that length. I mean, that ability to stretch the defense, that is that type of style, the modern style of basketball.
Great entry pass. We talked to Coach Auriemma about Olivia Nelson-Adota and the fact that she is leading this team in assists at 4 a game. He said our bigs have always been good passers, and she certainly has developed into a great one.
They know they won't play if they don't pass well, Jason, that's for sure. And she has. She's a terrific passer. Sometimes she passes it too much. But you remember Rebecca Lobo, and of course Stephanie Dolson and Tina Charles and Stewie, they all were terrific passers, and Nelson Adota has become that for this squad. And that's one of the reasons why their offense flows the way it does.
She just picked up her 3rd foul. Her Big East leader in blocks per game, who averages nearly a double, nearly 10 points a game, nearly 9 rebounds a game. Racing Bennett at the free throw line, playing in her 2nd game back. Her mother tragically passed away in her sleep less than 2 weeks ago.
Very
the
sad.
funeral was on Monday.
And that's something we haven't even mentioned in terms of Georgetown and what they're battling right now. It's been a hard couple of weeks emotionally for the squad.
Difficult shot over Bennett. And to your point about that for Georgetown, it is a team that, as Coach Howard was telling us, very tight-knit group, obviously doing everything they can to support their teammate, but also dealing with their own issues. When a teammate's mom passed away so suddenly. And James Howard needs a timeout. This is stretched out to a 33-point Huskies lead here in Hartford. Now number 10 up by 33, and we will see this 10th-ranked UConn Husky squad same time, same channel next Sunday. Facing Providence right here on CBS Sports Network, 2 p.m. Eastern. That's the rest left of the schedule. Marquette, team that is trying to make the NCAA tournament. You're in a Big East that Coach Auriemma certainly thinks could get 4. Their tournament resume, the win against Tennessee a couple weeks ago was a good one. Notre Dame was the game where Paige Beckers got hurt. Certainly there. That Villanova loss, Julianne, was the one that snapped a ridiculous streak of 169 consecutive conference wins.
Yeah, somebody was going to snap that streak at some point, and Villanova can be very dangerous with Maddie Seegers, the top scorer in the league and one of the top in the country.
And maybe that's what propels Villanova into the NCAA tournament as well. They're certainly fighting for a bid.
And I think that it does, because Maddie Seegers did not play earlier in the season. She was out for, I think, maybe a month. She was out, so that's something that they'll take into consideration. But I think 4 teams should get in. 3 fighting for certainly 4 are fighting for 3 spots.
Great interior passing, and Edwards down there with Nelson Adota as well. Just on the drive, the kick out to Clockerty. Scott fighting for the offensive rebound and a second chance. Scott again. Down the floor, it's Williams. Ooh, what a move! She left Kaylin West in her dust, and she's got 9 in the quarter.
Williams is really looking good here today. She's just been tremendous, really can wow the crowd.
Feels like every play is doing that. Paige Beckers, I mean, she wants to watch. She'd rather be playing. Everything falling for UConn in a game that has been all Huskies. And you're watching the March to March presented by Principal Financial Group. Worth a watch, brought to you by Principal Financial Group. Kristen Williams has been worth watching all afternoon.
She's been terrific. She's just been sealing off defenders, and she's been in attack mode, making some wow type of moves to the basket. This is exactly what Coach Auriemma said to us before the game. He wanted to start seeing out of his senior entering March. He wants to see her really get her offense flowing, be very offensive minded, because for them to be great near the end, she needs to be great. I mean, this is a special player, the #1 recruit out of the class of 2018. I remember when she came in as a freshman, dropped 28 points against then #1 Notre Dame. You knew that she had that kind of relentless attitude about her and swag. She got in trouble for saying that, you know, we're going to win a national championship. Yeah. Remember that? Because you're going to feel UConn. She was young saying these things, and I love her game.
Last year came up short in the Final Four. Huskies fell to Arizona. What turned out to be an all Pac-12 championship game where they lost to national champion Stanford. Clockerty, the high archer. Georgetown now 4 of 15 from beyond the arc here in the game. It was great effort from Grace Ann Bennett. And it'll go back to the Huskies. Now check that. It is still Georgetown basketball.
But it is that effort that James Howard is looking for. I mean, this Georgetown team went a whole month without playing basketball at all. They had 12 players that were sick with COVID at once. And that hurt them this season.
As a lot of teams certainly dealt with, as the country dealt with it in November and December and into the early stages of January. No question about that. That's kicked. And so it'll stay with Georgetown here. And they'll reset the shot clock to 20. You know, we talked about at the outset of this game, Julian, in terms of UConn. They have not had many blowouts throughout the course of this season. And again, injuries have played a role. They've had some losses where they haven't normally taken those in years past. But they haven't had many games like this. But they beat Xavier by more than 50 on Friday. And they come back here and do this to Georgetown. You start to build up some confidence against teams that are at the bottom of the conference.
You really do. And you learn how to score. You learn how to do things that you haven't been able to work on or do throughout the season as much. I think that's actually a good thing that they've had more close battles this season. I think down the line in March, when you're playing some of the top teams in the country, that's going to help you in those situations. You've been there.
Archer saves it for Georgetown, who just got a 3 from Clockerty. Inside of 2.5 to play here in the third quarter. Clockerty again, one more time. And a nice looking stroke, her third triple of the ball game.
She's got nothing to lose, and she's playing with no fear, looking for her shot. And she's got the ability to stretch the floor. We've seen her throughout the season have some big games.
Grace Ann Bennett causes back-to-back turnovers. You know, first quarter, UConn had 8 turnovers in the first quarter. Until those last 2 possessions, they only had 2 since.
And what did I tell you? They were going to clean that up.
You did. You did. And to Georgetown's credit, after 19 turnovers in the first half, they have only turned it over 3 times here in the third quarter. Great looking pass into the corner. Scott tips it out. And here comes Yasmin on into the front court. Looking for help. To Bennett. Knocked it out of Ducharme's hands. It'll stay with Georgetown.
Now we've got to love the intensity here and the fearlessness from Mary Clockerty. I mean, she's coming off screen. She's looking for her shot. Had hit a couple of them there in a row. So they're still playing and competing, and that's important.
Back over to Williams for a 3. Clockerty got trapped on the baseline and yet another turnover. So Fudd on her way back in. Had a long rest here. Gino Auriemma has not scored here in the second half. And I think this crowd's appreciating too Kristen Williams. That's a heck of a third quarter as they're trying to get some rhythm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the crowd, they know what they're getting when they come here, and they continue to support UConn. And of course, Kristen Williams kind of putting on a bit of a show here. And clearly what's impressive about the Huskies is their balance. They do have a lot of players that have just played extremely well, and nobody needs to drop 30 when you're winning like this and you're getting so much out of all the different players. That's what's so key for Gino moving forward with the health of his players.
Shot clock turned off after the turnover. UConn with a season-high 20 steals here in the ball game. Ducharme with a 3. Huskies doubling up the Hoyas here at the end of the third. It's good if it goes. It's short. And we will head to the fourth in a game that has been all UConn here at home. End of the third quarter. Huskies 70, Hoyas 35. You're watching March to March, presented by Principal Financial Group. Again, set for the start of the fourth quarter in a game that UConn will win. And up until, well, February 9th, UConn had won every conference game it played back to 2013. That came to an end at the hands of Maddie Siegrist in Villanova, 72-69, snapping 169 straight conference game victory streak, including conference tournaments. Now, much of that in the American Athletic Conference, some of it back in the Big East, and then, of course, now back in the Big East. But it's not the only streak that has come to an end this year for UConn. When they lost earlier this year to Georgia Tech, snapped a streak of 240 consecutive wins over unranked opponents. Oregon was unranked. Villanova, when they lost, was unranked. So it has not been the prototypical season for UConn when it's come to all these streaks.
Right, it hasn't. And, I mean, of course, everybody says streaks are meant to be broken at some point, right? And it's going to happen. And, you know, those are teams that just took advantage of the situation. UConn, not quite the same this year. They've had injuries. The top player in the nation has been out pretty much the entire season, or most of it, or whatever it may be. And they've suffered injuries, and it's been difficult. I mean, that Villanova game was pretty incredible. Maddie Siegrist, who I mentioned before, she's one of the top scorers, and she's number 2 in the country right now. No slouch of a team there. And she played at my former high school. I've got to shamelessly plug that.
Coach, I think the other thing is you'd like to plug is your dad coaches that team.
My dad, yeah. Alviani, you know. But she's a phenomenal player. And, you know, the teams that did beat them are good teams.
Yeah.
It's not like they're slouch programs.
Blockady just drilled her 4th triple of the ballgame. So she has tied a season high. And the only other streak that there is still there, and again, there's a lot, but the one that's still the question mark, 13 consecutive trips to the Final Four. We will not know that in another month and a half or so. And
when you ask Coach Auriemma if he thinks that his team is necessarily going to the Final Four right now, he'll tell you he's really not sure. I mean, he doesn't feel like he's felt in years past. Clearly, you don't have your best player in Paige Beckers, but you know, at this point, there's just a lot of up and down in the women's game, and anything can happen.
Paige Beckers has certainly been cheering on in the huddle, every single huddle. But what else is going on in that huddle? Let's send it over to Sherry Burris.
Well, let me tell you, Gino Auriemma is still wanting his team to bring that intensity. In the last 2 timeouts, the focus has been on ball movement, passing, and then focusing on the defensive end with getting stops, guys.
That's good stuff, because you know Coach Auriemma is going to continue to coach, Sherry, and that's important. And that's what separates this program from all of your regular programs in the country. He knows his group is young. He knows they've got a lot to do. He even told us he's got to coach more than he ever has had to coach.
That's right.
In years past. Because think about it, he had the Diana Taurasi of the world and some of the greatest of all time on his squad over the years. And now with youth, he's really got to coach him.
That means we don't want them to finish this game out strong. A game that they were up by 35 at the end of the third. They're going to want to see that around the same. The dump down low, great catch and body control. Bennett blocked by Westbrook. Ott steals it right back, and she's fouled. Mule to the deck. She's called for her 3rd.
Great block from behind there. And just a little bit of scramble.
Amari DeBerry checks in. Curly Edwards, and the crowd appreciates the fact getting to see someone they don't see that often. Berry playing in just her 9th game of the season. Not a good pass out to Bennett. Good ball movement. Not much of the 3-point threat. Blockady is already hit 4. Give her 5. Season's best.
It looked like UConn was in 2-3 zone there, and good ball movement from Georgetown.
Mule with the answer.
Mule's been really solid here. I mean, she's still dealing with a lingering foot injury that kept her sidelined for nearly a month earlier in the season, and she only practices about 45 minutes. She doesn't go full time. They want to use her as much as possible in games. I like her game. I think Mule's been playing solid.
Well, and the most impressive part of her game today has been on the defensive end. She's got a career-high 6 steals. Blocker this time inside the arc. He got hit, no foul called. And it's out of bounds back to UConn. Well, and to your point about Nika Mule, right? A foot injury that happened. She missed 3 games after Notre Dame. She has only scored in double-digit points twice this year leading into this game, but she does have 11 here this afternoon.
Yeah, exactly, and that can really bolster your confidence. She does it on both ends of the floor, and that's why she plays so many minutes and she's relied upon.
Saved back in bounds. Nita Kalava is in the game for the first time. Georgetown trying to get some good offensive sets, and they set up that well. Ott delivered a nice pass.
Yeah, good patience and just getting good looks, and that's the key for Georgetown, is knocking down those open shots. They haven't been able to do that throughout the course of the game, but they haven't also gotten as many opportunities with all the turnovers.
The turnovers starting to mount up for UConn too. Remember, we said 8 in the first quarter, only 2 for the next 17 minutes, but now the Huskies up to 17 in this ball game as well. It helps when you have forced 26. And this is leading to a 3-on-0. DeBerry.
Oh, that was really unselfish from Mule. She was looking to get that ball to DeBerry no matter what.
Bennett turns and faces. And Archer was standing out of bounds.
A little surprised Williams is coming back in the game at this point.
Well, with all the injuries, there's only so many players over there on that sideline, right? It's not
yeah,
just Paige Beckers. Aubrey Griffin is out for the year after back surgery in January.
And she had, I thought, an ACL as well.
And remember, Murr McLean transferred to Virginia as well. So there's only so many bodies over there that you can have in the ball game.
Right.
Players who play are going to have to play.
You got to rest some of them for sure, especially come nearing the end of the season here.
Extra bounce pass into the paint. The double comes. Tough bucket again. Olivia Nelson-Ododa with the opportunity for 3.
Oh, that was a beautiful move. And Nelson-Ododa might not be a thick player, but she is so smooth and she's very strong with the basketball. See her hang time here, her ability to absorb the contact. I wish she would get more touches.
It's the 3-point play, so she's got 7 to go along with 4 boards. Back into the corner. And they have not been able to get Milan. Bolden Morris going, their leading scorer. Just 6 points this afternoon on 2 of 8 shooting.
The defense from the Huskies has been really their calling card here today. That's been so clutch for them. It's led to their offense.
Well, they haven't let Georgetown get into the offense. Bolden Morris and Ransom, who are their 2 leading shot takers, have only gotten 15 up today. That was a nice play. Jillian Archer on the offensive board.
Now they're looking to pound it into Nelson-Ododa.
Which will send us to our final timeout. UConn heading to a 31st consecutive win. against Georgetown. And you're watching March to March, presented by Principal Financial Group. We'll be on the call with Jordan Kent as soon as we are done. So we'll get you out there for that. Yeah.
Right.
Talk about father-son connections on one roster. And Jalen House and Jamal Mashburn Jr. can go for 60 combined in any given game.
It's pretty cool.
Tough pass. Caught in the second row. It was a beautiful grab by a young fan back there. As we bring it back to the Big East here, obviously UConn's going to be in the tournament, and Creighton and DePaul are going to be in the NCAA tournament as well. The question, Julian, really comes with Marquette and Villanova and whether or not this conference will get 4.
Right, and I think that 4 should get in. I think 4 deserve to get in. Even when we talked to Coach Auriemma about that, he believes that too, that 4 teams deserve to get in out of the Big East. I mean, but if only 3 get in, there is a battle there between DePaul, Creighton, Marquette, Villanova. And I think right now Marquette may be on the outside a little bit.
Struggling a little bit of late.
A little bit of late, and then Villanova kind of gets a pass because Maddie Siegrist was out early in the season. I think that they'll get in, and but honestly, all of those teams, all 4 of those teams should get into the tournament. I mean, they're all solid teams. What's hard is you see another league get like the 8th place team in whatever conference get in when they're not better than one of these teams. So that's where it becomes a little bit difficult to stomach.
DeBerry just hit her second 3 of the season. She's coming off the bench here, like she did against Xavier, having a role in the 4th quarter. Kelava found the ball and put it in. Her second bucket here as she's playing the 4th as well. And Brenda Freese was telling us the other day at Maryland the same conversation. Right, Big Ten expecting to get 6 with Nebraska.
Big Ten, right?
Expected to get 6 with Nebraska. Their question is, can they get a 7th? Northwestern, Michigan State, somebody like that. And she's like, it's hard to take the SEC or getting 9 in the conversation about 10.
That's a lot of teams to get in, and it becomes unfair in a sense where it's not anybody's. Not everybody can get it, and your regular conference season should matter, and that's something that Gino Auriemma preaches as well. It should matter how you finish in your conference.
Now Mules Day might be done. Career high in steals this afternoon to go along with an 11-point performance. Clockerty, one more. She has shot the ball well, 5 of 11 from beyond the arc. She wanted to trigger it again. Ott for 3.
They're firing them up. They're getting some looks.
Off Gabriel is on the floor. She had 11 points in the 4th quarter alone against Xavier on Friday night. Inside of 2.5 to go. DeBerry again. No. Extra pass to Westbrook, and they're taking all the time off the shot clock with extra passes. They found Gabriel down low.
That's a nice job. I mean, good ball movement, and no matter what, UConn, they just know how to move the basketball, and they make it look so smooth. And they're practicing their 2-3 zone here.
Now, the Huskies are not going to win this game by 50 like they did the other night, but they have absolutely been in as much control in this game against Georgetown as they were on Friday against the Musketeers.
Yeah, they sure have been. I mean, and that's a good sign for them. And we've continued to talk about the fact that they're finally healthy, minus Paige Beckers, but to have everybody back finally for the first time in quite a while is key. And we didn't even really get into all of the players, all of the personnel. I mean, Carolyn Ducharme didn't even have a big game here today, and she has been one of the top players on this squad since injuries have taken place.
Well, when Paige Beckers went down, and remember, Ducharme is also a freshman, right? She had to step in and play a much bigger role, and
they underestimated just how good she was. They knew she was good, but the fact that she took this team on her back while people went down as a freshman really showed a lot.
She had missed the last 4 games before Friday night. Again, Paige Beckers only played 6 games this year before going down against Notre Dame. She was averaging 21 points, 6 assists to go along with 5 boards and nearly 3 steals a game, which is kind of what you expect from the National Player of the Year. Kristen Williams having a ball game. 19
As she's just played with a sense of urgency, and what's impressive is it doesn't matter what the score is, and that has always continued to impress me about the Huskies. It doesn't matter what the score is; they are always playing 110%.
So Kalava on the free throw line, the transfer from Croatia. Team captain the last 3 years. Not played the same type of minutes this season. And especially as this year has come to an end and the Hoyas have gone more towards their youth, which we saw a lot today of Ariel Jenkins and Brianna Scott. Into the final minute. Now, if you're wondering the season high in point total for UConn this season, they did cross 90 on 2 separate occasions. They scored 95 in the opener against Arkansas. DeBerry is fouled, and she will go to the line to try to get the Huskies to 90 for the 3rd time this year.
A lot of offense here from the Huskies. It really showed a lot of different weapons, and they kept their foot on the gas the entire time. Now, will they like to clean this up a little? It was a bit of a sloppy game, turnover-wise. Yes, they're going to have to do that moving forward, but a good effort.
A bit might be an understatement.
Yeah.
21 turnovers for UConn. But they forced a season-high 30 turnovers from Georgetown. We were on pace for 72, though, after the first quarter, so we only got to 50.
So there was a react to it.
UConn does not have to shoot it again. They can hold. And they will do just that. An overwhelming performance by the number 10 team in the country against an overmatched Georgetown squad, and UConn took care of business. And they're going to leave the Excel Center with a 41-point win, 90-49 for Gino Auriemma, who walks off with win number 1,138.
How about that for a weekend, huh? Friday, Sunday, you just obliterate your opponents. I mean, you can't say enough about the performance of Kristen Williams, that young lady right there, but this entire team today just continuing.
So UConn one step closer to securing for this school what will be a 9th consecutive regular season title. The Hoyas lose a 7th consecutive game. They'll try and regroup at home coming up against Villanova on Tuesday night before finishing the season on the road with opportunities for victories against those other 2 teams at the standings with Xavier and Butler. But UConn moves to 13-1 in conference and 19-5 overall on a day where 10 players played for the Huskies and all 10 scored.
And that's what's very impressive about it is the balance attack of the Huskies. A lot of people stepping up here today, excuse me.
And a 41-point victory in front of more than 10,000 fans as we send it over to Sherry Burris with Coach Gino Auriemma.
All right, Coach, congratulations on the win. You guys have been really tinkering with your starting lineup. How did you guys continue to improve with this and find your rhythm and flow this afternoon?
Well, the tinkering was because we kept having people come in, come out, come in, come out. And then we settled on a lineup because we had to. We only had 6 players. So now that we've added a couple more, it's changed again. So I'm really proud of how they've handled, because everybody's been moved from here to there to there to there and played a lot of different positions. And they just go with the flow, and so far so good.
All right, we got to see Paige Beckers out there a little bit warming up. She was making shots from the middle of that Husky. When you think of getting her back, how she's looking, what does that excite you about what she can add to your lineup?
Yeah, the thing about Paige is, you know, she doesn't need a lot of time on the court, you know, to get her game back. So right now, I think mentally, she has to get to a place where she feels confident, and that's soon, but I don't know when. But obviously, if you add her to our lineup, that changes everything significantly.
All right, well, congratulations on the win. Thanks for the time, Coach.
Thank you.
Guys.
All right, Sherry, thank you very much. They have 13 consecutive Final Fours. Only time will tell if they get number 14 in a row as this season progresses. 90-49, UConn knocks off Georgetown on a dominant performance without Paige Beckers. Now for Julianne Vianney, Sherry Burris, and our entire crew, I'm Jason Horowitz. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. After the break, we'll send you back to our New York City studios. Take care from Hartford.